Hello everyone, my name is Iconic Shaman, and we are back once again with another edition of Gundam Done Quick. This time we are back with Journey to Jaburo, and wouldn't you know that since the last time I made commentary on one of my runs, we've improved the strats once again so much to the point that, well, we kind of have to explain what's going on and why it's going on. When I started running this, the world record was around 34 minutes. And since then, pmcTRILOGY and I have shaved about 7 minutes off the world record. And this is due to improvements in routing, improvements in the strats behind the run, improvements in just our consistency, and the way we're able to process everything that's going on in such an RNG-filled game, and how we're able to just take bad things that happen to us and turn them into positives, or manipulate things in such a way that we can develop some form of rhythm or some form of consistency to make sure that our runs are, I don't want to say immaculate, because there's too much random stuff going on that really guarantees that we're going to have the God run. But there are plenty of opportunities for us to have that one run where we can just look and go, man, that was a great run. But we'll see how we do here, because I decided before I would do some commentary again that I wanted to get a run that I was proud of, that I could at least talk about. So if you'll follow along with me, we're going to go ahead and get this thing started. Alright, so this is a New Game Plus run as usual. The only real difference in New Game Plus and New Game is just the fact that there's one extra Zaku. It can change the outcome of what's going on, provided we meet one certain objective in Mission 2, where we could actually fight a boss in a Zaku and have 2 big boss fights. But for the sake of the run and for the sake of everything going on, we don't want to do that. We want to just simply go for the speed strat in Mission 2. So what's happening here in Mission 1 is we are only allowed to use our beam saber. The reason being, if you've ever seen the original Mobile Suit Gundam series, we're starting off in Side 7. It's a colony in space with millions of people. If we use the beam rifle or the hyper bazooka or even the hammer here, what's going to happen is if we miss the Zaku and we hit the colony at all, we risk opening a hole in the colony's wall and putting millions of lives at risk. So we are only allowed to use our beam saber in this instance. Can I defeat that other one too? So we try to get through these 3 Zakus as quickly as we can with the triple slash. Sometimes I use the Vulcans, but they don't really do enough damage, but they do at least help the Zakus see that I'm targeting it, and they might also get them to use machine guns rather than switch to the Heat Hawk that they're using. So again, what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to make sure I get these Zakus down as much as I can. Sometimes I get unlucky, sometimes they can strafe around, sometimes they can boost away from you, sometimes they're absolute units, sometimes they're pushovers. But what I've done here is I realized that the last Zaku blows up around a minute, where a dialogue line is going to play. So what I did to skip that line entirely or make it shorter is go out of bounds that time. There's 3 ways to get around the line that plays in 1 minute. Obviously, complete it faster than 59 seconds. Take damage so you can skip it, which I didn't take enough damage, or do like I did there and try to go out of bounds and get the line to just cancel it. It's an old trick in speedrunning to have a line cancel another line to get out of a mission quicker. So now we go to Mission 2, where we have our first weapon change of the game, where we can really determine what's going on with the run and whether or not we're going to have a good run. We go to the Hyper Bazooka for the first 2 missions because we're going to take advantage of the bazooka's hitbox, especially in this mission here, where we're mostly dealing with aircraft and tanks, and they go down in 1 hit. Especially here with these Magella tanks. They are part aircraft, part tank. The aircraft on it can actually dock off it can launch off, and see, I got an unlucky launch there. So what I'm doing is, instead of locking on, normally you lock on to these guys. For ease of speed, I know exactly where I'm aiming. I don't care if it doesn't hit it right away. Sometimes it can hit it to the left or the right, depending on where the shot goes, but I don't really care about locking on to the Magella tanks. I did care about locking on to the Zaku to find out where it was. We have to clear that Zaku in 2 waves of Magella. I'm going to manually target most things, but this aircraft we're fixing to target here, I want to make sure I lock onto it or lock onto something around it, and then use the hitbox to get the hardest boss in the game out of the way. The targeting system can jack you up and try to get that Zaku down at the bottom. If you can quickly get it off of that and get it back to the DOP, you'll be in good shape. Otherwise, you'll miss Garma and lose a lot of time. And these specials here make this first boss fight with Char almost negligible. If you connect with 3 specials immediately and he doesn't dodge out of the way or he doesn't block, you get out of that mission. So as you saw, I had the ideal Char fight. That's the first time out of 3 times we see him. We're going to see him once again in Mission 3, and this is where he starts to get harder, and this is where, with the new strat, we take a lot of risk in having a faster run. But the trade-off is, even though Char and the end result of this mission, the end objective, is harder to get than it would be with the Hyper Hammer, the speed in which we deal with the first 4 Zakus to get Char out is actually worth everything in the long run, especially if we get a really good Char fight. So what we're doing, once again, we used to do the Hyper Hammer because the Hyper Hammer let us get around Char's bazooka and be able to consistently deal damage to him and still be safe. And it also takes out the Gal carrier that we're going to deal with later on in 1 hit. So what I've done here is, I'm the one who developed this strat, and the reason I decided Hyper Bazooka is faster is because, again, we get to take full advantage of the bazooka's hitbox, especially on specials. So with the hitbox, you can be about 2 or 3 Zakus off in one direction or the other and still score with hits, still take them out. So what I did there, when I had if you saw the bottom left, I had my radar fully extended to see the whole map. What I did there is I wanted to see where that Zaku was spawning, and we've got it down to a way where we can consistently get this 4th Zaku, that one right there. We can get him to spawn right by this other Zaku that always goes to the west. Sometimes it can be unlucky and spawn right by the white base, which costs a lot of time, but more times than not, we've been able to figure out how to guarantee 9 times out of 10 that that Zaku will show up right behind the other one, which in turn will put Char to the northeast. So what we're doing is we're trying to get Char down with the Hyper Bazooka specials in 3 specials, or 2 specials and 2 normal attacks. Good trick to use if you can't hit the 3rd special because he dodges out of the way. But in my situation here, it's harder to get these 3 specials on Char because he has a bazooka. It's not safe to guarantee that he can switch to the melee and then go from there. Sometimes I do miss, and see, look, that right there is a perfect example of why we use the hitbox. Nowhere near Char, still able to connect because that hitbox is just absolutely gorgeous. Great programming for the year 2000, huh? So now we're waiting on this gal to show up. You have to be careful with how you boost up here. I've had several runs die because I bonked off a DOP while trying to boost up to this gal. So what we're doing, this is Garma. We're going to knock him out of the sky with 3 specials. Now, in the series, and normally in the game as well, you can actually bait Garma out to the front of the white base so the white base can shoot it down from behind. But again, this is a speed run, and we want to be able to get him out of the sky quicker, and that is a way to do it. So now we move on to Mission 4, where we have a meeting with my buddy pmcTRILOGY's best friend, Jaburo. And if you ask him, Mission 4 is the worst mission in the game. If you ask me, I don't know what all the fuss is about. But we're going to see exactly why Mission 4 is not really a fuss for me, or hopefully we won't, but we may. Let's see what happens here. So we're going to stick with the beam rifle for Mission 4. PMC said he used to run the Hyper Hammer because, well, he said he was trolling around when he really did this. But then when I came along and started running this and saw how he used the Hyper Hammer, I said, you know, wouldn't the beam rifle be faster because of the DPS and because of the potential you have with the specials and the ability that you're able to get out of these fights and get out of these missions quicker with the beam rifle, especially when in this situation we kind of want to use the beam rifle not only because of its ammo, but because, especially with these Zaku's right here, they are the old Zaku's. They are the grandpa of the series. We want to guarantee the specials on them and the normal hit, because that way what we do is we just get them out of the way. I go left, PMC goes right, and the reason I go left is not only a comfort thing, but because to me, it's just the most consistent for me. What I try to do is after I take out the first Zaku, you have to take out the radars and the turrets on the base, and then you have to take out this other Zaku right here. So what I do is I try to take out everything on the base on the top side while I'm in mid-air. I only got 3 out of 4, had to turn and hit the other radar, and then I'll pick up the other 3 turrets on the bottom and then boost to the other Zaku. So with this line is playing, I know Jaburo is on the way. I'm just going to chill and relax. This gives me a chance where if I used all my specials, I'm just going to reset my specials. It's a good chance for you to reset your ammo. And then we see Jaburo right here. What we're going to do is we're going to try to hit 2 or 3 specials. I'm going to wait for him. I saw him dodge out of the way, so I matched him. I hit 2 specials on him, and I had a good fight, all things considered. But I ended up losing time here because not only did I not really get the optimal clear from the first part, the second Zaku, as you saw, was the most difficult. That one just consistently likes to strafe. Sometimes it likes to hide behind things. Sometimes it doesn't want to stand still so you can guarantee the special. But the left side for me, again, on that part is more consistent because the first Zaku is good. The clearing is okay. The clearing of the turrets and the radars are okay from the left side. And then we get to the last Zaku. It's the most problematic for me, so I'd rather just go ahead and save that one for last. So Mission 5 and Mission 6, we cannot change our weapon. We have deserted the white base in the story, so we are only allowed to use our beam rifle because that's all we took with us. So we're going to attack this mining base here. We've got a bunch of buildings and some turrets and a few Zaku's to take out. The Zaku's are the more problematic here, as you'll see. This guy wanted to strafe around. I couldn't hit the special, but once I did and I got out of there, I'm fine. I try to shoot the building attached to that oil drum or whatever that is. I try to shoot the building because the building will take it down with it more times than not. Sometimes that oil drum will stand up, but more times than not, when you take out the building, the oil drum goes with it, so it's a 2-for-1 special if you just shoot the building. A little faster way to get around that. The second Zaku there can be the most problematic because of its bazooka and its missile pods, but as you saw there, I got the really good version of that Zaku. He was not problematic. And now we move on to the third Zaku, which can be problematic like the first one because of the way it can strafe around. Now I have 3 shots left, and I know that my normal ammo is in good shape because I want to start this next part with Makuve with all 16 shots. So this is the Adzam here. PMC likes to stick to the ground and shoot the 3 legs and then try to go for the landing if he can. I just go for the landing right away. The reason I do that is because now if anybody fires at me, they're having to fire up and hit this thing, and it does take friendly fire. It's safer for me to just stay up here, guarantee shots to the legs. The only downside is I could potentially target the Magellas and Zaku's down here and some of the other aircraft in the air. However, it's still the most safest, consistent strat for me, and as you see, you can kind of get stuck on the top side, which is unfortunate, but it's fine. It's fine. So all I'm doing is I'm waiting for one more shot you have to touch the legs. You have to take out 3 out of the 4 legs, or you have to take out all 4 legs and then get damage to the body. So with the landing, what I've been able to do is I get the landing, I take out 3 out of 4 legs, I touch the 4th leg, I get out of the mission fairly quickly. And so that's just the most consistent way for me. I ended up saving a little bit of time, but not as much time as I wanted to save. And as I look at my splits right now, I know I'm in decent shape to have a decent run, but the rest of this run is going to be determined how I get out of this mission right here and then the next 3 that follow. So mission 6 is the fastest mission in the game. To me it is anyway. Because we have the beam rifle and it's the fastest way for us to guarantee 2 quick kills that'll get us out of the mission. And we can call somebody for support to help us deal with Jaburo again. But first, we're going to deal with his battleship, the Gallop. So this Gallop likes to glide along the desert, and it's so hard. It's Garmatier. All we really do is we boost to it, slide up its back, because its back is kind of sloped in a way where we can actually get on it, use it like a ramp. We get 4 specials. We take it down, and after we come back, we're going to go ahead and reset our specials because it's safer to go into this Jaburo fight with all 5 specials. I call Kai in to see if he'll do damage because sometimes he can actually be useful. And as you see right there, once I saw his shield break off, I know Kai has done enough damage. So all I have to do is touch Rambo with 1 normal attack, and we're out of that mission fairly quickly. So that mission shows right there the one time, well, there's 3 times we actually get to call in our units and they're helpful. One of the 3 times that calling the unit to help us is actually very useful in the context of the run. Thank you, Kai. So mission 7, we now go to our old friend for the first time, the Hyper Hammer. And the reason we like to go to the hammer here on mission 7, we're in a forest, so we're dealing with a lot of trees. So even though the beam rifle and the hyper bazooka could be useful here, the beam rifle more so, we have so many trees that obstruct us that as soon as we shoot, it just hits the tree and the shot stops. Whereas with the hyper hammer, it can go through several trees and it doesn't care about it. It's going to continue to go through the trees and try to hit the target. So in that respect, the Hyper Hammer is actually ideal. Not only that, it's again the safest way for us to deal with these guys and try to get a lot of damage. So in mission 7, we're going to do a not marathon safe strat here in the context of the run. We're going to reduce the number of Zakus, or try to reduce the number of Zakus that will show up in the second part. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take at least half health damage or enough so that I can get around dealing with the extra Zaku. Sometimes we can get around dealing with the extra Zaku, but what I'm doing is I'm trying to take enough damage so I can at least prevent 3 out of 4 Zakus from showing up. Now 1 may be guaranteed, but I can make sure the other 3 don't show up. So all I'm doing here in this second phase is I'm guaranteeing that I take enough damage, and then once I've done that, I'm going to try to boost out of the way until I hear Fraubo saying enemy units approaching white base. That's the cue right there that these guys are going to leave me alone. But this one guy decides to stick behind. He's still firing at me because he's probably going to go to the left. So all I'm doing here is I'm just going to take him out quickly and be done with him. I go and put on the big map because now I can see exactly where these DOMs are without having to do any guesswork and go, hey, where'd they go? I know exactly where they're at and I know exactly what they're going to do. So I took out one of the ones that would be down here because the other DOM will be out toward the white base. And knowing that I got those 2 DOMs done fairly quickly is a great sign for me. So I call Kai Hayato here right now on this Zaku because they are actually helpful in clearing it out of the sky. So I get rid of that one, and now I'm on to the last Dom, which I have not touched at all. The first 2 I managed to do enough damage on, so that's the reason I got out of here fairly quick. And what I'm doing here with the Hyper Hammer is I'm doing an animation cancel. So normally with the Hyper Hammer, if you stand still or strafe in one direction and you attack, you have to wait for the hammer to come back to you provided it hits something. But once it hits something, if you strafe in the other direction as soon as you hit, if you move forward or back, and then you strafe in the other direction, or you just normally strafe in one direction and then quickly change direction after hitting something, you can actually cancel, well, I don't know if cancel is the right word because it still comes back to you, but the game acts like, oh, there's the hammer, and you can quickly throw it back out, so you can get 2 to 3 free guaranteed shots on an enemy unit fairly quickly. And now we enter Mission 8, where we can use the Hyper Hammer, or we can use the Beam Rifle. The Beam Rifle still offers the most DPS, and it still gives us the best ability to be able to deal with the units in this game, especially when the first 3 that we're going to deal with have garbage can size hitboxes. Pretty much like the same reason that we like using the Hyper Bazooka in Mission 2 and Mission 3, but in reverse. Now it's because their units are so big that there's no reason for us not to use the Beam Rifle. So as you see right here, I'm going to try to keep my distance from these Gogs. I'm going to try to move in one certain direction, one way or the other. And the bad part about this mission is that if you see right here, I didn't notice that the other Gog is now at my right side, but I'm going to try to get rid of this Gog first because I had already done enough damage to it. I'm trying to stay away from them as much as I can, but sometimes they want to fire their hyperparticle cannons. I do not want them doing that. So I'm trying to guarantee that they don't, and I'm also trying to keep my distance from them because even though these guys are slow moving, if you get within, I think the game goes by meters right here. If you see the 136 number or the 130 number, if you get within 60 meters of them, they will try to use melees, and their melees are terrifying in all aspects. So again, I'm trying to keep my distance and respect these guys. And now this one's coming closer, and then as you see right here, that one's way too close for comfort. He got a really big special. He got another big special. I'm just like, whoa, big guy, you need to back off just a little bit. He's blocking specials. I'm looking at my health. I'm sitting here thinking, oh God. And I have a second phase to deal with here. So in my mind, when I was running this, I'm like, God, the run is dead. The run is dead. Even though I still have my shield, I have about 2 hits because the next hit's going to break my shield, and once that happens, I'm dead. So I try to boost over this Zagok right away. The Zagok is the worst part about this mission because of its beams. I try to call Kai and Hayato as quickly as I can. I have about 1 hit left. Kai and Hayato are actually really helpful here. I take out that first Zagok quickly, and then I try to get rid of this one. As you see, I have lost my shield. Thankfully, I had iframes on me, so this game does have iframes in a sense. Thank you, specials, by the way. So, back to what I was saying. This game does have iframes in a sense where if you get knocked down, or you're taking a hit from a bazooka, or you get knocked back or something, sometimes the next thing that can hit you, it still hits off of you, but you don't take damage as a result. So, to have those invincibility frames is a blessing and yet a curse because it happens to mobile suits the exact same way. I'm waiting for my specials to come back because what I'm going to try to do here is if I complete this by 3:05, I'm going to get the time for here and I'm going to be able to get out of this mission. So I missed both specials on this Zagok. If I didn't miss those specials, I would have had a guaranteed minimum 2-second time save, I think, because of the way the splits are set up. But because I didn't, I end up losing time as a result. It's unfortunate, but at the end of the day, I just didn't play Mission 8 very well. I got too close to the GOG, but sometimes it's better to be lucky than it is to be good, especially when I'm looking at this thinking, if I get a good Jaburo, I could probably still record. But it depends on how this Jaburo goes. So in my PB of this, as you see right now, it was a 27:59. In my PB, I didn't get the best Jaburo, so I know I have plenty of time to save here. But it all depends on how this mission goes. This is Jaburo. This is the longest mission by design in the game. So we're going to start in the first part here with the dock. And the reason we use the hyper hammer here is especially when it comes to this part and when it comes to the damage of other options later on in the run. It's not to say that the beam rifle wouldn't be good, but again, the problem with trying to run the beam rifle in every mission in this game is because we can't guarantee that its special will be useful because of how small and how accurate the hitbox is. And again, we have to reload with the beam rifle. We quickly run out of ammo. Even though we do damage, and even though it can be useful, it's not as useful as you think it is. So that's why the hyper hammer is especially effective in situations like that, because we don't have a reload animation and we can't lose the weapon. So all we're doing in this part here is we're hoping these guys don't strafe to the back, and I'm moving around trying to hit them as much as I can. And I've had a pretty fast part, so what happens here is we have 6 units show up, 5 Zakus I believe, and 1 AT guy. We get rid of those guys fairly quickly, and what can happen here that can make you lose runs or lose a significant amount of time is you can have those units decide that they're going to go all the way to the back out of reach of your hyper hammer, and you can't move to go get them, which sucks. But we got rid of them fairly quickly, so we get to club banger season on some good times. This is easily one of the best tracks in the whole OST right here. This music that plays for the Jaburo operation. We take out these Zakus and AT guys. We got to take out 2 Zakus, 2 AT guys, so it's the first 2 waves of normal enemies to get Char to come out. Char is very dangerous in Jaburo. If the final boss doesn't kill your run, Char definitely will. So once the guitar kicks in, I know I'm in good shape because I've gotten rid of those first 2 units fairly quickly. I'm trying to make sure, in this mission especially, that my jet management, or verniers as you call them, this little meter that's going up on the right, or left, excuse me, the reason I'm making sure they're good is because I don't want to get to a point where I overburn them, because if I overburn them, I'm going to lose a significant amount of time waiting for the jets to cool. So sometimes I'll let them get to the red, but I have to play very carefully, knowing where my jets are. So this AT guy here is trying to boost up. I'm just going to go catch him. And then what we're going to do here, as you see, we're continuing to use the animation cancel. I like to call it the tetherball. The reason I like calling it the tetherball is because think of it like playing tetherball on the playground, and think of the shape of this thing here. It's a mace, but it looks like a ball in a way. It's like, imagine if you were back on the blacktop, hitting the ball on the pole, watching it go around, going back and forth, trying to go as fast as you can. Like a speed bag in a way, but with a lot more movement. So this is Char. He's in a Zagok. He has a lot of damage. He moves very fast. All I'm trying to do here is I'm trying to keep my eyes on him. I'm trying to hit him from the side as much as I can, and I'm trying to get around to his back, because that way I can consistently make sure I do damage to him. And I did fairly well. I took about 2 beam hits, but the big takeaway here is that he didn't use his melee special. If he would have used his melee special, no telling how much time I would have lost. Also, I've learned from previous experience, you want to put your shield up in this part going down the hallway. That AT guy can fire a special and take you out. So again, this is another part where we didn't really mention this, but vernier management here is really good. We want to make sure we don't overburn our jets, because if we overburn our jets, they carry into this next part, especially right here with this Zok. He is a long way away, but those beams hurt from any distance, especially when I know I have about 2 of those beams left. Well, 3 if you count the shield break. I have about 3 hits before I'm just dead. So he fired 1 main beam, and then when he fired the top beam and I got as close to him as I did, I realized I have a perfect fight going on. He took a lot of damage there, and all I'm going to do now instead of PMC is I'm just going to take a selfie right here. I just unlock the camera, I take a selfie, me with my new exploding buddy, and boom! Done. So my timer was a little ahead, as you saw in the video, but the time ended for my end when it faded to black, and as you see here, 27:48. All things considered, this was a run that was pretty average by my standards. I don't think it was a great run, but the only reason that time is great is because I had an absolutely amazing Jaburo. I had the perfect Jaburo. I had a good Char fight. I had a perfect Zoc fight. I had a great dock. I was in good shape for most of that run, and it could have been a lot faster had I not screwed up as much as I did. And I'm not happy with that run in the long run. I have to go back and clean up Mission 3. I still got a big time save in Mission 4. I've got to clean up that Mission 8. I did well in Mission 7 to at least save a little bit of time, because Mission 7 is one of my more inconsistent missions. I think it's the weakest personally for me, but as it stands, we've made a lot of progress on Journey to Jaburo. pmcTRILOGY and I have really done a whole lot of good work in improving this game, and I think with the work we've done, we've made it a legitimate speed game, and we would love for this to get featured in future marathons. If you need to see a marathon safe run from us, or see what it looks like, provided we submit this for Games Done Quick or any other marathon in the long run, and they go, hey, could you show us what a marathon safe run looks like for us, just so we kind of know what we're getting into, we'll be happy to do that. But the best way to sum up Journey to Jaburo is it is a run that, even though it features a lot of RNG and we can have a lot of bad things happen, we do have enough strats that provide enough consistency for us to get through most of the RNG while also taking a leveled amount of risk. The only real risky strat we probably wouldn't do intentionally is the Mission 7 damage reduction, or the spawn reduction strat with taking intentional damage. What we'll probably end up doing is we'll probably end up just trying to get through the three tri-stars as quickly as we can and just take care of the Zakus, because in that situation, we can just use the hammer cancel mechanic and go from there. But anyway, that is the run. I am Iconic Shaman. Thank you for watching this once again, and enjoy the rest of your day, guys. We'll see you next time.